we have here a video of a young boy who's saving his mother from drowning. We're going to try not to show the entirety of the video because we're going to get sanctioned. Unfortunately, some of the things we can't really show you, as much as I would love to share with you everything. I'm sure if you want to see the entirety of the video, we're going to put a link below. You can click on the link and go watch the entirety of the video. But here, I'm going to try to speak up and show you perhaps just a little bit of it so you can have a good sense of what we're talking about. So we have here a young boy, as you can see clearly, jumping into a pool because his mom is having a seizure. Drastic. He pulls his mom, picks her up, makes sure her head is above the waters, trying to drag her, put her on top of himself. This young boy is 10 years old, not strong enough to pull her up. Very clear, as you can see, he's trying his best. And the dog is barking very hard, barking. Very interesting to see how the dog is barking, trying to call out on the father of this lady, who's just a neighbor. So the father lives in the next house. The barks of the dog has alerted the father of this lady, who is the grandfather of the son. As you can see, he comes running. She regained consciousness, a little bit of it, at least. Okay, he jumps in the pool, grabs her, pull her up. Always good to have your dad. I mean, such an emotional moment. Now he pulls his grandson in acts of gratitude to show him how much he appreciates what he's just done. Very touchy, very interesting, very mind-boggling, I think. It's very interesting to see things like this because then when you see things like this, you have to think. Like the first question that comes through my mind is, what would have happened if this young boy was in his bedroom playing PlayStation? You could have probably been told that your mom was in a swimming pool and something drastic happened, something really irreversible. That would have been sad, wouldn't it? But this young boy, obviously, as you can see, is an active boy, very present with his mom. Not just that, but very balanced as well. Do you remember, guys, many years ago when we used to play in the backyard? Jumping over trees, climbing trees, playing soccer in the backyard, playing with the mud, doing all the crazy normal things young kids do. Do you remember all that? It's gone. Today, with technology, people play with PlayStation. Some of our people, as soon as they have some money, they all get iPads and iPods and whatever you call pads for their children. And kids tends to lose social intelligence with that. Kids spend more time playing video games, more time on iPad, on iPod, and cell phones, and imaginary world than actually being present with you when you're doing things. And that's why we have so many problems, I believe. Just imagine that young boy being in his bedroom or being occupied doing something online while his mom was experiencing what she experienced in a swimming pool. Very sad. That's also why I think it's very necessary to speak to your kids about your situation, what you're going through, and really explain to them in case of this situation, if I ever fall on the ground, this is what you got to do. This is how you must act. And before you do anything else, this is what you got to do. Then this is the number you have to call. This boy is 10 years old, man. Imagine the average 10 years old today in our society. Probably playing on a video game, PlayStation. As soon as you call him, he gets really pissed off because you call. Why did you call me? Why? I'm playing my game. We certainly needs to bring back this life that we used to have. Do you remember again what it felt like just being present with people? You go to places nowadays, you go to bus stop, to train stops, whatever, to train stations. What happens? People barely greet each other. People just sit next to one another. They don't even look at one another. Everybody's on the cell phone, consulting imaginary things and communicating with notifications and likes, buttons and all that crap that we live today. Instead of actually engaging with the next person and say, hey, good afternoon, how are you doing? We don't do that. We've become strangers with each other, especially in Africa where we used to engage with one another, to learn. And that's how we acquired so many things, so much knowledge. I mean, I know a situation of a friend of mine who used to go through a very difficult situation and he went to a bus stop. That's where he met somebody and he said, good afternoon. And that person looked at him and said, I'm looking for a graphic designer. Do you know any? He goes like, I'm a graphic designer. I said, oh my God, we're looking for a graphic designer. I have a job for this and this, that campaign. You just tell me how much you want, we want to pay you. And that's how you got a job. Just imagine you go to a bus station, you meet somebody, you say hello, they respond to you kindly and tell you what they're looking for immediately. We're looking for a graphic designer. Do you know any? I'm a graphic designer. How many times do we get that today? People are just busy looking at each other, kind of like, why are you looking at me? Why are you greeting me? That's the world we live in today. I mean, look at this child. You can see his balance. He's a kid that understands what the sense of responsibility is. And some other kid will freak out. Yeah. Seeing the mom going into convulsion, they will freak out. Like, what am I going to do now? Probably going to be screaming, granddad, granddad. He didn't do that. The boy jumped in. You can see this is a sense of stability. He understands the situation he's into. Okay, so we're going to watch another one. Very interesting, of a young girl in a very similar situation. I'm going to play it and we're going to make a comment. So this is a 5-year-old little girl. Drive with her mom and get into an accident. She sees a little brother in very bad condition as well as her mom. but she was clever enough to climb out of the car and walk up the hill and go wave at strangers. 5 years old, wave at strangers to call for help. Just imagine, a 5-year-old. What are the odds for a 5-year-old to have the instinct of unbuckling herself, getting out of the car, walking up the hill and wave for strangers? The only way, in my opinion, a child is capable of doing that, a child of that age, it's when they have, with the parents, gone through situations like this. They've spoken about this before. Like in case of difficulties, this is how you conduct yourself. If we ever find ourselves in a very difficult situation and you don't know what to do, this is what you do. And I think the problem is we don't do that enough. I mean, we see many kids today with so much different sort of this fancy new instability or disease, whatever you call it, ADHD, whatever that stuff is. Because boys need to be boys, talking about boys. You can't keep a boy in a house sitting the whole day because boys need to be boys, do their own things, be in the mud, make mistakes. I think we tend to protect our children a little too much. Oh no, don't do this, you're going to hurt yourself. Don't do that, you're going to burn yourself. I understand that feeling as a parent, trying to protect your child, your offsprings. Very, very simple. However, they will never acquire experience or creativity if you don't let them make their own mistakes. I'm very glad being part of the people that my parents never really stopped me from doing things. I've made plenty of mistakes. Some of them I truly regret up until now. Some of the mistakes, I'm still paying the prices of it. But I cannot tell you how much I've developed as a person, as a human being, being a sportsman, a professional sportsman, a world champion in boxing. For those of you who don't know, and kickboxing, you can have a look at it. I've never really spoken about it here, I know. But all that stuff came from my parents letting me be, allowing me to make my own mistakes. I firmly believe it had not been exposed to life in that sense, like walking in the street, playing in the mud, hurting myself sometimes, breaking my hands because I was playing too much. I would have never had the confidence that I have today and the confidence that I had at the time to leave my country at 20 years old, go looking for a better life in a different country. So I firmly believe it's necessary to allow your children to actually really develop by doing natural, organic things in the field, playing as a young boy, understanding things as a young girl, because I don't think a young kid is as young as you think they are. A kid can only define his intelligence based on who they speak to all the time. So if you talk to your child like a little baby, like doo-doo dada all the time, your child's brain will develop as doo-doo dada. But if you talk to your child normally, like go to the kitchen, get the knife, call your dad, ask him to send the bill, call your uncle, ask him to send that file on PDF or whatever, you take him through the process very slowly. You get him to develop himself and his brain, his capabilities as a human being. It doesn't really matter what age he is. And you're going to be surprised to see your child really develop and be a true gentleman or a strong little girl. So again, I am one of the people that promote that life that we used to have. The life of exchanging letters, the life of talking to one another, gathering around a fire, the life of putting the phone on the side. Okay, no TV, let's just talk. Let's communicate. Let's look into each other's eyes. That is a life, unfortunately, that we are losing very slowly, especially for people that live in Africa. They have taught us that the good life is having an iPad and iPad all over the house for the kids. For somebody that has an iPad all over the house, they have a successful, beautiful life. And for that person who has the kids cooking with them in the kitchen and doing chores and washing dishes because they don't necessarily have a dishwasher, that is not a nice life. That is a poor life. And I disagree with that. Now you tell me how you feel. Do you feel that we should move forward with life as the way it is today, forgetting completely the way we grew up, completely how to connect with one another like we used to do? Things that are clearly absent nowadays. People cannot connect. It's very difficult for strangers to connect, to say hi, hello, how are you doing? Who are you? Where do you come from? Where are you going? Talking to strangers, respecting elders like we used to do. Do you feel like we should go back to where we used to be or just embrace the new life as it is and have no opinion? God bless.